Queens of the Stone Age are one of the most exciting and successful rock bands of the 21st century, thanks to their unique blend of heavy metal and melodic grooves. If you want to learn what almost no one knows about them, then go with the flow and keep watching. Before Queens of the Stone Age took their place among modern rock royalty, there was Kyuss. Named for a character from Dungeons & Dragons, the group came together in 1990 under the direction of singer John Garcia. They rose to the top of the early 90s stoner rock or desert rock scene, playing parties and small gigs in the often remote towns that dot the desert areas of Southern California. They built up a small but loyal following and released 4 albums by 1995. But then Kyuss dissolved, owing to increasing creative tensions between Garcia and the band's guitarist, Josh Homme. After the split, Homme toured with Seattle grunge band Screaming Trees and then aimed to put together an all-star group of 90s rock heavyweights. After recruiting Matt Cameron of Soundgarden, Mike Johnson of Dinosaur Jr., Van Conner of the Screaming Trees, and later Kyuss guitarist Nick Oliveri, the first iteration of Queens of the Stone Age was born. Queens of the Stone Age is objectively a terrific band name, but the world almost missed out on that glorious moniker, as the group was originally named something else. When Josh Homme put the project together, he came up with the name Gamma Ray, but a German metal band with the same name caught wind of this upstart American music collective and threatened to sue, thus forcing Homme to pick something else. It was early collaborator and producer Chris Goss who devised the phrase Queens of the Stone Age and christened the band with it. It's a name that works to describe the band's powerful but nuanced and unifying sound. As Homme explained to Complex in 2013, kings would be too macho. The kings of the Stone Age wear armor and have axes and wrestle. The queens of the Stone Age hang out with the kings of the Stone Age's girlfriends when they wrestle. Queens of the Stone Age was never set up like a traditional rock band. Dozens of musicians have come in and out of the group over the years, including such big names as Elton John, Trent Reznor, and Dave Grohl. Before founding Foo Fighters, Grohl was the drummer in Nirvana, and it's in that capacity that he's played on multiple Queens of the Stone Age releases, including the band's seminal 2002 album, Songs for the Deaf. The opportunity came along at the perfect time for him, as he was mired in contentious recording sessions with the Foo Fighters and needed a break. Grohl had been a fan of Kyuss, and he liked Queens of the Stone Age even more, so much so that he asked the group to be the Foo Fighters' opening act on their 2000 tour. When the Songs for the Deaf sessions began, Homme had heard that the Foos had taken a hiatus, so he called up Grohl because their usual drummer, Gene Troutman, had left the group. As Homme recalled to MTV News, "I called Dave and said, 'Can you come right now?' It was noon and he said, 'I'll be there at 6:30, and by 8 p.m., we had tracked a few songs." In November 2007, Queens of the Stone Age were invited to perform a small and exclusive show for the residents of a drug rehabilitation facility in California. All the attendees filed in for this special treat, and then Josh Homme and company opened their show with their rousing 2000 track, Feel Good Hit of the Summer. But despite its title, this song isn't really about summertime. Instead, its lyrics consist entirely of a repeated list of various drugs, stimulants, and intoxicating substances like nicotine, Valium, and cocaine. Yes, you heard that correctly. Queens of the Stone Age played to an audience of recovering addicts and kicked off their set with one of the most drug-centric songs in rock music history. Staff members at the rehab center were so appalled that the band hadn't even finished playing Feel Good Hit of the Summer before they'd unplugged their equipment and directed security guards to forcibly remove the Queens from the building. Feel Good Hit of the Summer doesn't technically implore listeners to try any of the many drugs its lyrics mention over and over, but just stating their names certainly constitutes some blunt references to drugs. That made for a dicey situation when Queens of the Stone Age planned to release the song as a single off their album Rated R. As Homme told Rolling Stone at the time, "We're getting this feedback that lots of people won't even play it on the radio. They don't look at it in a very positive light." It wasn't just radio stations that were hesitant. Walmart, which was a major retailer of CDs at the time, informed Queens of the Stone Age that they wouldn't stock Rated R in its thousands of stores unless they took off Feel Good Hit of the Summer. After some negotiations, the chain agreed to stock the album, albeit with a warning label, alerting customers to the objectionable language it contained. Amusingly enough, Homme told Walmart that it didn't need to bother with the warning because by virtue of it being titled Rated R, it already warned minors to stay away. As he noted to Rolling Stone, after that, they agreed to carry it. A concert tour is a massive undertaking. A band has to haul its equipment to distant arenas, set up for enormous shows, and play great sets to the delight of audiences that paid good money for the privilege to see them. Then they have to pack it all up, get into their vehicles, and do the whole thing all over again for months on end. It's a grind that typically requires a band's full commitment. But in 2005, Queens of the Stone Age took on double duty by hitting the road for a large-scale arena tour while also hitting smaller clubs along the way. They served as the opening act on Nine Inch Nails' Live with Teeth tour, in which they played large and venerable venues packed with fans. At the same time, they also set up a series of so-called renegade shows in or near cities where they were already scheduled to play. Some of the performance spaces included a record store in Austin, an Army-Navy surplus store in Chicago, and a bookstore in Portland. As Homme recalled to Billboard, "The one in Chicago, we were setting up the PA ourselves when everyone came in. It was like playing at your friend's house." In April 2000, Saturday Night Live aired what would become one of the most beloved sketches in comedy history. Framed as an episode of VH1's Behind the Music docuseries, it featured the 70s rock band Blue Oyster Cult during the recording of their hit song Don't Fear the Reaper, which is notable for featuring cowbell in its percussion section. Guest host Christopher Walken played a producer who wanted the song to feature more and more cowbell, while Will Ferrell played the band's fictional cowbell player Gene Frankel.
I gotta have more cowbell, baby.
Unlike a lot of other popular SNL sketches, this one was never turned into a recurring bit, although Ferrell did don the Gene Frankel wig and gut again eventually. On the May 14, 2005 episode of SNL, Queens of the Stone Age were the musical guest, while Ferrell was returning to the show as the host. One of the Queen's then-current songs, Little Sister, happened to feature a lot of cowbell-style extra percussion. So, at the start of the song's second verse during their SNL performance, Ferrell quietly emerged onto the stage and joined the band, in costume as Frankel and banging away on a cowbell. As Homme later recalled to The Fade, "It was really hard for me to not laugh and just keep character." Along with Josh Homme, the longest-serving individual in the continuously rotating roster of musicians in Queens of the Stone Age was bassist Nick Oliveri, but his nearly decade-long stint in the band came to an abrupt end in 2004 when Homme fired him. During a 2005 interview on BBC Radio, Homme shared, "A couple years ago I spoke to Nick about a rumor I heard. I said, if I ever find out that this is true, I can't know you, man." Homme hinted that in addition to that first incident, something else happened when Oliveri was in England with Queens of the Stone Age collaborator Mark Lanegan. It was such an issue that Oliveri almost wasn't able to get out of the country. At that point, Homme set loose his old friend and bandmate. Not long after, he got into a physical fight in Los Angeles with rock singer Black Dahlia, a friend of Oliveri's. As it turned out, the reported reason that Homme threw Oliveri out of the band was because he heard about allegations that Oliveri had abused his girlfriend. Ultimately, Homme and Oliveri reconciled as friends a few months later, with Oliveri returning to record with Queens of the Stone Age on occasion in the 2010s.
There comes a time when you need your friends, and so you call them.
Queens of the Stone Age's third studio album, 2002's Songs for the Deaf, was the band's first big commercial success, as it broke into the top 20 of the Billboard album chart.
Their latest album is called Songs for the Deaf. Now we know why.
Get it?
What?
That success was fueled in part by the hit songs No One Knows and Go With the Flow. There's a lot going on with Songs for the Deaf, as it completes an unofficial trilogy with the band's first two albums. As Josh Homme explained to The Fade in 2002, "I think I've always looked at these first three records as a set. The first one kind of needed to distance itself from Caius, my previous band, without losing anybody and establishing a new sound. The second record fans out the music so that we can play a little bit more of what we'd like to play. And I think this third record is the personification of the idea, which is musical diversity. And, goes from garage sounds to almost like rock opera in some moments." Songs for the Deaf ultimately wound up as something of a concept album, replicating what it might feel like to drive from Los Angeles to Joshua Tree National Park, 120 miles away in the California desert. As Homme explained to The Fade, "When I do it, I didn't have a stereo. All I had was a radio. So I used to really enjoy the silence, and then every once in a while the station you were at would all of a sudden let out a screech and become a new station. I just wanted to bring that to a record somehow. Queens of the Stone Age came of age at the tail end of an era when bands had to record music videos to promote their songs, and they accordingly produced some memorable videos, often injecting them with the traces of humor and horror found in their music. The Queens received various MTV Video Music Awards nominations for their clips for Go With The Flow and No One Knows. They're proud of their videography, but there is one that they don't look at very fondly. 2005's In My Head. As guitarist Troy Van Leeuwen told Suicide Girls in 2007, "It just happened to be the only time we listened to the record label, and it was such a f*** up on our part. The video we ended up with for that song is so lame. It was 3 of us against a green screen with effects added later. It was like a f***ing Gap commercial. It was terrible. Just terrible." And in 2017, Josh Homme told Zane Lowe on Beats One Radio that he realized he hated the video during production. As he put it, "I was like, this is terrifyingly awful, and then I just split. And it's like, where did Josh go?" And I was like, he went home. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite bands are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.